That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Paradise Highway, the directorial debut of Anna Gutto, which will receive an international premiere shortly after it opens, courtesy of Lionsgate, July 29th, 2022. It'll be at the Locarno Film Festival, I think the week after that, interestingly enough.
This is awkward for me because I can tell the person who made this movie really thought they were doing something, but this is not it. This is not it.
I have been curious about this film since I heard about it because of the cast. It stars Juliette Binoche and Morgan Freeman, two Oscar winners, and Frank Grillo.
Who has great hair.
As always. And from this Norwegian-born filmmaker who, I guess, lives in Santa Monica. But this is, to have amassed such an interesting cast, and it looked like it might be a mess, but I was thinking, based on the poster art, but I'm like, oh, maybe because of who's in it, this will be good.
Well, I don't know. That movie with Morgan Freeman and Ruby Rose?
Well, that was trash. Vanquish.
I enjoyed that more than this thing.
This is very much in that ilk of very notable female star saving a child in tow, a la Gloria or Nine Bullets, which we recently reviewed.
Well, both of those are more fun, too.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, not that it's supposed to be fun. The basic story is Juliette Binoche plays a truck driver.
Named Sally.
Who we see goes to visit her brother Frank Grillo in prison. And it's made clear he's about to get out soon. So she's excited for that. And then right as she's about to get up, he hands her something and says, I need you to do one more run, please. If you don't do it, they're going to kill me. So she's done runs for him before, like trafficking contraband, we assume. She agrees to do this run. So she goes to the address he was given, meets a couple of people, and they hand this lady a young girl who is clearly being used for sex. Initially, she's like, no.
Or going to be.
And Juliette's character says no. But they said, unless you want your brother killed, you'll do it. So take this girl to the address I'm giving you, the end. So she goes, and this man meets her there, who's the one kind of in charge of all this. And that girl, what's the girl's name?
Layla, played by Hala Finley.
Layla knows how to handle a shotgun.
A sawed-off shotgun,
And she shoots and kills that man. So, of course, panic ensues because Juliette's character doesn't know what to do and the girl's hysterical. Instead of calling the police, they make a run for it. So, this is when Morgan Freeman's character joins the story. He is a retired detective who is a consultant for the local law enforcement, and he's coupled with a
Special Agent Finley Sterling, played by Cameron Monaghan.
So they're an odd couple, but they're working on this case because this dead man is found, and they know that he's a known trafficker, sex trafficker.
So they know they're looking for a young girl.
And the bulk of the film is them looking for Juliette and the girl, and Juliette and the girl trying to get to Frank Grillo's character, because now he's out of prison, and throughout the film he's making these manic calls to her saying you got to bring her here, well, I'll take care of it, don't worry about it. It's so, we can get into it. It's so nonsensical.
And also you have to keep her, it's the only thing keeping you alive, you're in danger.
So she finally gets to where Juliette gets to where her brother tells her to go, which is their childhood home.
A dilapidated trailer, very Trip to Bountiful.
We can get to the little details, but she says, I want to buy the girl. I have the money, I want to protect her. And we get very little background on any of these characters, but what we do know is that Juliette, her character was abused as a young girl by their father.
And she feels like she owes her brother because he used to take the brunt of the beating a lot.
And anyone would see from a mile, a mile away, that this brother is involved in this, but not her. So he's like, okay, fine, let's, I'll handle the money, I'll handle the girl. Juliette insists that she goes. And then we find out that the brother is involved in this trafficking business.
He's in too deep.
So, with the help of some other lady truck drivers who throughout the film we get to know via, what do you call the radio that they talk on? What do you call that thing? A CB radio?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Via a CB radio.
Breaker.
Yeah, that sort of communication. We find out that there's a lady gang of truck drivers who are all friendly. And Juliette's character pulls in some favors. And at the very end, at the drop-off point, those ladies show up and block the traffickers from leaving. which causes them to wreck their van. They take the girls and abscond. So then Morgan Freeman, we see the next morning, has met Juliette and the other truck drivers and the girls. And they take Frank Grillo's character. Mm-hmm. And the wildest shit about this story is not only do they let the other lady truck because that van had other girls in it, like 5 or 6 other girls.
They'll pop up like little meerkats.
Like little raccoons in the van. They let the other lady truck drivers take those girls where we don't know. And they let Juliette's character leave with, what's her name? Layla? Mm-hmm. And then the final shot is them on the beach because the young girl had said she wanted to visit Florida or something.
Yeah.
The end.
A postcard we cling to throughout, yes.
This shit is ridiculous.
I think at moments there, it's elevated beyond something as schlocky. Again, 9 Bullets is more fun because it's schlocky with Lena Headey. But this is, this is trying to be serious. We get the after credit moment where it's like giving us statements about how often people are trafficked and dedication to the people that try to prevent this from happening and blah, blah, blah. So it's trying to be earnest and authentic. And at times, there are moments where I think Binoche kind of elevates that, but for the most part, not.
Right. It feels so basic. Everything is spelled out, and the only gag that isn't... Some things are literally spelled out.
Yes. You can see every beat coming.
Yes.
From the moment Frank Grillo gives her this thing, you know exactly how it's going to transpire. From when Morgan Freeman gives her his phone number, you know how the denouement is going to play out.
And the one gag with the brother is like, that's not it. We already know that he knows what's happening. So it was just so pointless. And then the fact that there's no, because even Morgan Freeman's character tells Juliette, like, I'll try to do right by your brother. I'll try to make it so that he becomes an informant so he won't have to go back to prison. Mm-hmm. What? This man is a career criminal who was trafficking young girls for sex. Throw the book at his ass. Like, are they in Florida? Throw him with the Gators. I don't understand why we would even end the story this way. It's so ridiculous. We have a lot to talk about. Can I just go through my notes? I thought Frank Grillo's character had really nice hair for being in prison.
He always has
like, how are they keeping it dark in there? Do you know I spent quite a bit of time researching hair services in prison after the movie was done? Because I'm trying to understand if, like, in a men's prison, like, can they get their hair colored? And if so, it wouldn't look that good. I need someone to let me know.
I feel like, well, also, he doesn't have... It's explained very early on through the lady truck driver speaking that Juliette Binoche sounds different because she's Canadian. And he doesn't sound like that. I think Frank Grillo is only in this film because he got to star with these other people.
So initially, the girl, obviously, Layla, her character, after she shot the man and then now she's in the truck with Juliette, she's acting pretty feral because she doesn't know what's going on and where she's going. So Juliette ties her up in a fashion that I thought was like... I was surprised her character was so good at hog-tying people. Like, yeah. Gosh, every single frame of Juliette Binoche reminded me of Jennifer Saunders.
Oh, wow.
Like how she looks.
Sure.
She's a beautiful lady.
She is beautiful.
But I thought... And I think... I've seen her in other things. Mm-hmm. I can't recall. Oh, The Staircase. Mm-hmm. What else do I know her from?
We just reviewed Both Sides of the Blade.
Both Sides of the Blade.
An Oscar winner for The English Patient.
Both Sides of the Blade. Mm-hmm. What's that about?
With Vincent Lindon, where she's...
where she's having an affair with her ex. Yeah, she was good in that.
She's good in... Even in the...
I think she's better than this dialogue.
I agree.
And the accent they're trying to have her do.
She makes interesting choices. More often than not, they work out for her. Sometimes they don't. Like the empanada slinger in the 33.
Well, I think in this film, her dialogue and acting is probably the worst when it's over the CB radio with the lady gang truck drivers.
One of whom...
It's a little too Celine Dion for me.
One of whom is also Veronica Ferres, who produced the film. And she always kind of sounds a little bit like an odd duck with her accent.
We get a lot of calls from Frank Grillo's character calling from prison, trying to explain...
On a burner, yeah.
Is he on a burner?
Yeah, he says, like, it took me a while to get to a burner, yeah.
Oh, then I'm glad you mentioned that because that was my next thought aren't his calls being monitored? Because he is spilling all the business.
No, because they're always like, somebody's coming by.
That's right. Okay, well, I'm glad. Okay, so Morgan Freeman and the other guy show up at this house. They get like a tip that maybe the girls are there or a girl is there. And we see that the traffickers have vacated before law enforcement shows up. And there's a scene where they go into the basement and one of the detectives explains to Morgan Freeman that there's a cage bolted to the wall, and there was also a dog down there. And the other detective's like, that cage was not for the dog. That cage was for a girl.
And she's like, we can tell that the dog was taught to be aggressive.
My next note is that the feel of this movie, and you mentioned it as we were watching it, the way they're reacting to this scene makes it seem like they've never seen this before.
Cameron Monaghan's like, how could people do things like this?
He says it more than once.
I know, and it's like,
it's 2022.
It's 2022. Where did you receive your training? I know they try to explain that he's
from Yale,
but he was from a different department.
They keep making fun of him like he should be writing poetry or something. So he's not fit for this kind of work.
But this isn't the 1930s, and it's the chicken coop murders, and like nobody's seen anything like this before, or communicated about it in some fashion.
But even Morgan Freeman's character says he's been doing this for 50 years, 50, and then everything about what's happening, he's kind of like...
He gets very upset, he starts screaming, and it's like, you're going to give yourself a heart attack.
There's one scene in particular where he's like, fuck!
Yeah, it's like, whoa. And then Monaghan's character says, like, oh, all this time you still get worked up about it.
I usually wait till the end to talk about what I think this should have been, but I might as well now. I think if it had to be about a truck driver trying to save this girl who was being trafficked, I think we just should have spent a lot more time with her and developing the relationship with like her brother, if that's the catalyst for how she ends up with this girl.
So we have to believe that Sally and Dennis, the brother and sister, we have to believe that she thinks that he's going to get harmed in prison by this prison gang. That's why she's transporting all of these packages for him. But we don't get exactly why, because she's on the straight and narrow, and it's like there has to be something else. Like he either was a parental figure and manipulated her, or there's some kind of like V.C. Andrews, Flowers in the Attic sexual component. And as soon as those two get together on screen, I'm like, there's like a flirty...
It seemed incestuous, but I think that it didn't even... I would have preferred that Frank Grillo's character wasn't even a criminal. I think it would have made more sense for him to be like a straight-laced guy who got himself into some trouble she doesn't know about, and this is how he's going to get out of it. And so she's more inclined to trust him. But he is a career criminal and has had her run contraband already.
But he says to her at the very end, like, what does this girl what can she do for you that I can't? What does she owe you? Like, and again, I think that's the theme, is like, with this brother and sister, she feels like she owes him, and that's why they have... But there's a strange sexual dynamic there that I feel like if the film had leaned into that, we could have had a really grungy B-exploitation film that still got the point across sex trafficking.
There's a really weird scene at a truck stop where there's a black family, like mom, dad, and two small children, I believe, who are driving around in this pink RV, and they sell their wares like little fucking sundries at the truck stop. And the little boy, who looks like maybe he's 8 or 9, he just walks up to Juliette's truck because he sees Layla in it. That's her name, Layla? And he says, oh, do you want to hang out and come back to my trailer? My mom's making pancakes. And she goes eventually because she runs away from Juliette, which we'll get to. And then the parents don't think like...
They don't think anything of it. But it was like, yeah.
That was so weird to me.
Your mama didn't tell you to leave strange white girls alone? Because...
Oh my God. So then... Why does Juliette scream at... Oh... Layla and Juliette's characters sort of warm up to each other, and then they have this dynamic where like the girl stays in the truck. I had a lot of questions about that. Like, when does the girl use the bathroom, take a shower? Because she's telling her she can never leave the truck. But one moment when Juliette goes in to take a shower at a truck stop, the girl's in the truck and she's rummaging through Juliette's stuff and finds a box of letters from her brother in prison. And when Juliette comes back, the girl's like, which she said the exact thing I was thinking. How is he going to help us? And he's like in prison. Like, and then Juliette blows up on her and basically says like, the only us is me and my brother. So then the girl gets upset and then draws a little note to her saying,
I'm sorry about making your life hard. Bye.
Bye. And then draws like a little stick figure.
And then it doesn't make sense because Binoche gets bombed at the local bar at this bus stop, which a whole bunch of things converge because Morgan Freeman shows up and they're looking for they kind of have a better idea.
And the traffickers are looking for her.
The traffickers hire these two women
who I thought looked like Aquafina and Peppermint the drag queen.
Oh, Peppermint. But they seem like these kindly women that pick.
But you knew immediately.
But they look too good too,
Yeah.
because they pick Binoche up off the counter and like, let's help you to your truck. Is that your truck?
You know instantly that they're going to like take advantage of her, do something with her, and they do. But then, thankfully, Layla had come. Like, we get no development on why Layla decided to go back to Juliette's character. She just does after she wrote a note saying, "I don't want to interfere with your life" or whatever. And she beats the one lady, the black lady, with a bat over the head. And then there's a big commotion, like you mentioned, of Morgan Freeman, traffickers are there. And then they escape. Oh my God. Juliette's character is drunk as hell. So there's a scene where...
Yeah, like, do you think this was a good idea to get this bombed right now?
There's a scene where Juliette... So the girl has to help her in the truck. So Juliette is drunk while the girl is sitting behind her in the driver's seat, steering the truck. But then it's like, these trucks are difficult to drive. They're manual transmissions with many, many gears. I don't know how they were able to take off. That just seems so unrealistic. Yeah. that scene was wild. But then they get on the road and the girl says, "I want to go to my mobile home, like where I grew up. My mom should be there." And they go and the mobile home's gone. But I thought that was funny that the girl looks so shocked that the mobile home had moved. Like, isn't that what they're designed to do?
It is, and you know what? The space underneath it was very clean, so kudos to those people. But, you know, it's an hour and 54 minutes, and it's like that kind of stuff. I know they're trying to establish why Sally feels this way for Layla enough to make these sacrifices, but it doesn't even really do that good of a job of making me believe that, so I almost wish they could have cut some of that off.
It's important to know, too, that, so they're in, like, she's driving like they keep saying like a baby blue Peterbilt truck and trailer, and it's all over the news. So everyone should be looking for this truck that has a unique color, I presume. And I was thinking, like, don't they have planes or choppers? But then it's made clear, like, in 3 different scenes that resources are scarce. So basically, there's no one out here looking for them.
All of the scenes with Morgan Freeman and anything to do with law enforcement, the dialogue is hammy. It's not good.
Yeah.
Which is why I think that would have been an interesting perspective to explore. But I don't know that Anna Gutto really, in this screenplay, won some kind of award somewhere while it was in development. I don't think that this is well researched enough by any means from a law enforcement perspective.
I agree about the law enforcement thing. Well, I mean, I don't think it was well written at all, but with the law enforcement, it's confusing because I guess it's made clear that they're looking for a murderer, but then they have a consultant, Morgan Freeman, with this intern. But we know that this murderer has abducted a child. It just seems like the amount of energy that would be placed on this case would be bigger than just... And then what makes it worse is Morgan Freeman and the other guy driving around in his car, which is like a 1970s Mercedes station wagon. Mm-hmm. It's just like, for real? For real. Y'all can't get into a police vehicle?
It did remind me, because I when they're stuck at that truck stop where Binoche is assaulted, I remember the film where I first heard the term lot lizard.
You know where I learned that term? My sister.
Oh,
She's not one. She used to say that all the time. My sister's not a lot lizard, but she would use that term.
There's a pretty decent indie film from 2004. I don't know. I haven't seen it since that year, called What Alice Found, starring Judith Ivey. That I remember being eye-opening at the time. But. Sorry.
One scene that was really frustrating to me, additionally, is Morgan Freeman and the other guy do stop Juliette, but when they stop her, she's already transferred the girl to one of her lady gang drivers. So she's let go free and clear, which is kind of wild. If she's been implicated in a murder, they just let her ass go.
Well, Morgan Freeman pulls her to the side and it's like, that's where he gives her his card.
But they decide they're going to follow her. So they're trailing her, and they're not doing a very good job because she sees them. And so she pulls into this lot, where she had already planned to sell her trailer. And then Morgan Freeman is in his car watching her. She sells her trailer and is able to move, like detach the truck and drive off. I just thought that was so unbelievable. How would she know that they were gonna park in a way that they would see her do this and not see her pull off? I don't know. I just hated that scene so much.
Well, like a lot of things, it's a matter of convenience.
And then they sit there for what seems like hours until they realize, like, oh, she's long gone.
I think that what would have made more sense is to really kind of cut down on the ham-fistedness about law enforcement, like with Cameron Monaghan having to come to this epiphany that he has about, like, you're right, I am privileged, blah blah blah. Like, yeah,
my note about him is, who cares about this white boy?
Well, right, exactly.
At that point in the movie,
and also has no kind of odd couple energy with Morgan Freeman whatsoever. Anyway, so it's like I was more interested in her kinship with these other lady drivers.
Or that would have been interesting.
And how they interact and how they correspond about dangers on the road. They're just always kind of like hokily joking around. But it's like, I wanted that to be kind of like that Stacy Keach movie, Road Games. That serial killer thriller. I think we reviewed the Blu-ray for that. With Jamie Lee as well. I think it could have had more of that vibe. More of a gritty vibe.
When Juliette goes with her brother and the girl to buy the girl back, she ends up giving the money to one of the traffickers. And she never gets her money back. And then the brother takes... we don't see it. But I was so upset that her brother was trying to tell her, like, it'll be okay, just let me get rid of the girl. It's like...
She hands over... It didn't look like that much, and it looked like it was wrapped in an Egg McMuffin wrapper. By the way.
Wow, I have two more notes. What is Juliette's character going to do with this girl? She's essentially abducted her. Mm-hmm. How is she going to raise her? How is she going to enroll her in school, be her guardian?
She's going to have to buy a trailer again unless she's going to get a different job.
Oh, that's just so stupid. And then the last thing you can talk about is the film ends with a very interesting cover of...
Okay, so
yeah, go ahead.
This is the second film that I know of where Juliette Binoche is bopping along to a Blondie song. There's a 2011 film. I forgot to look it up before this review, but it's either called A Woman's Life or Another Life. It's from like 2011. She's married to Matthew Kasovitz in it, and they're at a club and they're singing Maria by Blondie. Oh, and it's I like that song. And it's a very effervescent scene. And in this scene, or in this film, in Paradise Highway, Layla turns on the radio and One Way or Another starts playing. They're like bopping around singing that out loud, which is great times, right? And then the end of the film is this really odd, emotional emo cover of One Way or Another, and I stayed through the end credits to see who did it. It was the lady that did the score for the film, Anna... that starts with a K. I didn't write down her name either, but it's a really odd take on the song.
What else you got?
That's it. What
would you give this film?
1.5.
I would give it 1.5 out of 5 as well. Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.